Hello and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Jurnee Taylor. Let's take a look at our headlines at this noon hour. Coming soon to Arkansas, a one-of-its-kind industrial plant will soon be making changes to the environment and economy. More on this in 3 minutes. Protests and strikes shake up two major industries. Now they must make critical decisions in order to get employees back to work. The latest on this just ahead. And almost 6 months after an EF4 tornado swept through Little Rock, and many are still recovering. Coming up, we'll show you how you could potentially help. But it's also my second to favorite day. It is Friday Junior, also known as Thursday. Meteorologist Nathan Scott, while we're gearing up for the weekend, it is warm outside and there's no rain on the radar.
Good afternoon, Jurnee. We are a few days away from the first day of fall, but look at these numbers. They're warming up very quickly just because we're seeing lots of sunshine out there. We had some clouds this morning, but those clouds have really started to break up, allowing the numbers to climb up into the mid-80s right now in Little Rock, 84 in Conway, 79 Hot Springs, 82 in Monticello. Check out the radar. It's pretty much quiet. A few showers trying to develop around Fort Smith and also across the border into Oklahoma. We'll go with a 30% chance there could be a spotty shower storm across the Ouachitas and also the River Valley. Here in central Arkansas, I think it's 20% or less, maybe a stray shower storm that tries to pop up. The story this afternoon, it's going to be hot for this time of year. Temperatures climbing up into the upper 80s to lower 90s across most of the state. And we're not done with these temperatures just yet. I think we're going to see another 90-degree day, but I do have some rain chances that look very promising in the 70 forecast. I'll let you know when that comes up a little bit later.
All right, thank you, Nathan. Well, new at noon on this Thursday, people in Little Rock and surrounding areas are mourning the loss of a beloved community leader this afternoon. We've learned that Reverend Hezekiah Stewart died overnight. He founded the Little Rock Watershed and Family Resource Center in 1978 and has been on the forefront of taking care of people in need across central Arkansas. We're going to have more on his legacy tonight at 5 and 6. And this morning, the State Board of Education held a public meeting to discuss new safety rules for all Arkansas schools. The board looked at several proposed rules that, if passed, would make campuses safer for staff and students. Those include mandated lockdown drills at least once per school year, required safety assessments every 3 years, and tornado safety drills at least 3 times per year. It also would require 40 hours of basic training for new school resource officers. Right now, the Little Rock Housing Authority Board's monthly meeting is in session. Last week, Little Rock City Directors and Mayor Frank Scott Jr. started the process to remove the Metropolitan Housing Authority's 5 board members. Now, they're under fire after a blistering report detailed financial and management issues lasting years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were flagged as mishandled or unaccounted for. So far, board members haven't responded to calls for their resignation. We're going to have more from that meeting tonight at 5 and 6. In Jefferson County, the long-awaited $3.5 billion GTL Americas project is underway. The company is planning to build a massive plant on 1,100 acres near the Pine Bluff Arsenal. It would transform natural gas into highly refined diesel and jet fuel and create 225 new full-time jobs.
Less pollution, so no smoke out of tailpipes of vehicles. You have 40% less emissions. You have 40% less nitrous oxide. And you have 0 sulfur dioxide coming out.
While the plant will create more than 200 permanent jobs during the 3 years of construction, it will likely open to 2,500 positions. Mayor of Pine Bluff, Shirley Washington, says she hopes this will put Pine Bluff and Jefferson County on the map. Ukraine's president is visiting Washington today, trying to convince lawmakers to continue supporting his country in its fight against Russia. As Congress considers President Biden's request for another $24 billion in military and humanitarian for Ukraine, a growing number of Republicans are pushing back against it. Natalie Brand reports from Capitol Hill.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is making the rounds on Capitol Hill, lobbying for additional U.S. assistance to help fight Russia. During his last visit in December of 2022, a joint session of Congress gave him a warm welcome. But since then, divisions have grown. Some Republicans are pushing back against President Biden's request for an additional $24 billion in military and humanitarian aid for Ukraine.
They need to make the case for Ukraine. If they have a strategy to win, let's hear it. If they have a strategy to actually end this conflict, let's hear it.
Other Republican lawmakers remain firmly in Ukraine's corner, arguing this is about defending democracy.
If you let Putin get away with this, you better get ready to fight China and Taiwan. And if you're not willing to do that, you're going to have a world where chaos reigns.
President Biden will welcome Zelensky to the White House this afternoon. Aides say the face-to-face meeting is an opportunity for the president to get a battlefield perspective.
Zelensky is also meeting with U.S. military leaders, his first visit to the Pentagon since the war in Ukraine began. The Biden administration says his trip to the U.S. comes at a critical time, given Russia's outreach to countries like North Korea and on the heels of new strikes in Ukraine overnight. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Well, Zelensky's visit also comes amid a looming government shutdown. Lawmakers are trying to work out a bill to keep the federal government funded after the end of this month. For the first time in nearly a month, talks resumed yesterday between the Writers Guild of America and the major studios in hopes of ending the Hollywood writers' strike. Two major talking points were pay and the use of artificial intelligence. However, the auto workers' strike is now on day 7. General Motors temporarily shut down one of its plants yesterday, sending 2,000 workers home due to lack of essential parts. The United Auto Workers Union is threatening to expand the strike if progress isn't made by Friday. The Federal Reserve announced a pause in interest rates hikes yesterday. The Fed has raised rates 11 times since March of last year in an effort to get inflation under control. Those hikes have led to some of the highest borrowing costs in decades, with mortgage rates now at a 22-year high. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says the central bank is prepared to resume rate hikes in the future. The Biden administration is granting temporary legal status to a number of Venezuelan migrants who are currently in the U.S. The move comes as the number of border crossings return to near record levels. It could be life-changing for those families looking to work and make money here legally. CBS is in El Paso, where officials are seeing more than 1,800 migrants a day.
You are at a crisis level here.
I would say yes.
John Martin is deputy director of the shelter in El Paso. He says the inflow of migrants has been increasing for weeks.
All of the downtown shelters are all working over capacity. We simply don't want to say no.
At another migrant support center, even the floor is welcome refuge for Marjorie Hernandez and Carlos Mota and their 2 small children. It took them 2 months to make the more than 3,000-mile trek from Venezuela to Texas.
There is work, but you can't make ends meet.
As first reported by CBS News, the Biden administration is granting temporary legal status to more than 470,000 Venezuelan migrants already in the U.S. The move promises to speed up their approvals for work permits. That could potentially ease the pressure on states to provide services such as housing to tens of thousands of migrants.
I anticipate, unfortunately, that we'll continue to see these increases on a daily basis.
Near Eagle Pass, Texas this week, more than 5,000 people streamed through in a day. The influx prompted the mayor to sign an emergency declaration, while in Arizona, hundreds were detained, some in makeshift cages. The influx is also being felt in states thousands of miles away.
Don't try to send people.
In New York, migrant arrivals have divided the city. Officials say $2 billion has been spent since last year to house more than 100,000 migrants bused to the city. Many asylum seekers told us waiting in Mexico was not a viable option.
In your view, Mexico is just too unsafe. Muy peligroso allí para usted y su familia.
Es horrible.
On Wednesday, the Defense Department said it would send an additional 800 active duty servicemen and women to the border to supplement the 2,500 who are already here. Manuel Bojorquez, CBS News, El Paso.
And as we head into the fall and winter season, many anticipate an increase in COVID infections. Now the Biden administration is offering free at-home tests again. Starting September 25th, the administration will send up to 4 kits per household. Federal officials say they're investing $600 million for production, hoping to avoid shortages during colder months. The kits can be ordered on covidtests.gov. cdc.gov. The government just authorized new versions of the COVID-19 vaccines last week, and we've received a lot of questions about these shots. One person asked, is it true that if you recently had COVID, you have to wait 3 months before you should get the new COVID-19 vaccine? Well, let's verify.
Our sources are the CDC, Walgreens, CVS, and a professor of immunology at Johns Hopkins. The CDC creates the recommendations that most government agencies and doctors follow. It updated its guidance right after the new vaccine was authorized last week. It says you can consider delaying vaccination by 3 months after you get sick because the risk of reinfection is lower in the weeks and months after. Professor Andrew Pekawash says there's some evidence to support waiting 6 months, but if you're in a high-risk group, you should talk to your doctor. If you book an appointment online, neither Walgreens nor CVS ask if you've been infected recently. Walgreens says on its site that people who don't get vaccinated after they recover are more likely to get sick again than people who also got the shot. So we can verify, no, you don't have to wait 3 months after getting COVID to get vaccinated, but you can consider it.
Well, the city of Hughes is set to receive 3 cars from Pine Bluff Police Department after 3 of their own police cars were set on fire. An open investigation is now underway after the arson that took place last week. The chief of police issued a request to surrounding departments in hopes that one could donate a spare vehicle. Well, Pine Bluff Police took the honor of donating 3 of their cars. They were originally scheduled to be auctioned off. We reported last week the United Way is seeking volunteers with its continued tornado recovery. Little Rock raised about $400,000 and now plans to distribute to those impacted by the March 31st tornado. With more than 300 applicants, the organization will need help sorting through them.
Yeah, it's been everything from developing the application to getting it online to working with the city's communications department to make sure that everyone's aware of it.
United Way says they train and provide volunteers access to the proper tools to do the process. To qualify as a volunteer, you have to be a resident of Little Rock as well as have at least 15 hours of availability. A new report shows babies continue to die in products that have already been deemed unsafe. Coming up, we'll share one father's story that he hopes can save another and other children.
We're seeing lots of sunshine on our Thursday. RView 11 seeing some smoke in the distance there off to the east. Probably some burning of the fields happening. Of course, it's that time of the year. All this sun drying things out. The latest drought monitor is out. I'll have a look at that and also talk about some beneficial rains heading our direction. When coming up.